through some, different ups and downs with the mortgage, back we had the mortgage crisis in 2005 and 2006. And then we had the REO business and then the short sales. And, I think this is just maybe another evolution of the industry itself, but there is a big lawsuit going on. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So why don't I have Sherry? We'll go ladies, poor gentlemen. Sherry, you want to introduce yourself? How long you've been in real estate, who you are? And we'll
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you so much. I'm excited about this topic. So my name is Sherry Barrett, and I'm out of Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm with Media Realty. I run a very small team, the Best Buy team. Been in business for about 25 years. Sold probably over 1,000 homes to both buyers and sellers throughout my career. Absolutely love what I do, and pretty much that's it.
Awesome. And then Russell, talk to us.
Yeah, so out of New Braunfels, Texas, sandwiched in between San Antonio and Austin, 23 years. Personally, a little over 1,000 homes in the 23 years. The team has done probably 2-3 times that as well. And we're just a small group as well, admin and buyer's agent, and then a partner of mine. So yeah, I'm real interested in this topic too. I think there's going to be some great changes coming up, and ready to dig into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so it's amazing to have a group like this. Hopefully Jennifer pops in. She's a newer agent, and she's I don't know, she's probably 2 years in the business, and I think she's did like 15 homes last year, and she's got like 6 pendings. I mean, she's doing really, really good. And she built her business on like literally for sale by owners and expired. So, all right, so let's get into it though. So the National Association of Realtors, there's a lawsuit that's been going on. It was filed in 2019 after, I believe just a couple hours, like less than 3 hours deliberation. They filed, and they went in favor of the plaintiff, who is attorneys for the sellers, and it's actually a case in Missouri. And what that did was now it's going to open the door for it to go. You're going to start to see these things pop up everywhere, right? That's the challenge. And what they're saying, just to summarize it, is the National Association of Realtors is a it's kind of funny. They're operating collusion. They're artificially they're making realtors together artificially inflate commissions, and sellers paid an extra $60 billion in commissions every year. So that's what the suit's about. It's in appeal state right now. So they did find guilty, but they appealed it. Since the CEO of NAR, he resigned yesterday. So that tells you his thoughts on it, right? So there's a lot going on. So I want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts? First off, like, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, do you think it's just going to go away? I mean, the email that the NAR sent out on Wednesday basically said, hey, just, kind of, I'm trying to be as correct as possible, but hey, just kind of keep doing business as usual. And we're confident this is going to go away. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think eventually no one likes change, and no one likes to be forced to do something, especially when they think they're doing it okay. And then you have some hotshot attorney who's probably rubbed the wrong way one day and decided, hey, let's just have a class action lawsuit and, attack all the realtors out there because they feel that, the buyer's agents are making too much money. I feel it's something that is probably going to take several years to work through, but I think we need to start to plan for it now. And I'm sure that's something that you're going to be talking about a little bit later. But yeah, I think personally, I think it's BS. Professionally, I have to accept it and then prepare for it.
I love it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it may cause some efficiencies in the marketplace. I can't tell you how many, in both sides of on this token. I can't tell you how many times I've worked in the buyer's agency position, and buyers just, they used up a lot of our time. There was no thanks. And we essentially were treated like door openers, even though we tried to create value. So I think this is going to make buyer's agency either step up or turn into some other kind of iteration of buyer's agency, whether it becomes fee-based. I think, in my opinion, we may see some morphing out of the listing side, where as listing agents, you might have to facilitate the ability to show those listings, whether it's on staff. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that open up to efficiency and kind of weed out a lot of the time that was wasted by showing homes to people that in hopes that we're going to buy something. And now that we have to use, if you're going to be on the buyer's agency side, you're going to have to use your time a lot more wisely and articulate with agreements and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. We also have a bunch of people, by the way, on Clubhouse Live. We do have, looks like we have a couple of people watching here as well on YouTube, but I'm going to drop a link. So anybody's welcome to ask some questions. I also invited Jonathan Bing. I'm not sure if he's going to show up or not. If he does, he's definitely going to challenge all of us, because he's just been bashing real estate agents. So I think that'll be fun to deal with him. And because listen, I mean, there. So I'm trying to say, so there, I think it's the 80-20 principle. This is the way I look at everything, right? Like, I think it's reversed. I think 80% of real estate agents are trying to do the right thing, right? Like, they operate with the intention of doing the right thing. They're trying to help their clients. They're not trying to get over on anybody. But there's the 20%, and that's actually reverse, right? That's the reverse of the real 80-20 principle, because the real 80-20 principle is like 20% of the business is done by 80%, which is true. But I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt in the real estate space that 80% are trying to do the right thing. But the reality is there are some, there's in any industry, it's not just real estate, right? In any industry, there's going to be bad actors out there, right? In bad apples. And I think what's happening now is the whole industry is being punished by some bad actors. Or is this just all just like what do you guys think? Is this like crap? I mean, do you think there's any validity to this, or is it just like crap? What do you guys think? Anybody?
I don't know. I think that the lawsuit indicated that we conspire and inflate pricing. So if that was a local issue in Missouri, I don't foresee that the case. But he being the plaintiff's attorney, the lead attorney, had indicated that we were very similar to a cartel. I don't know if you heard that, but I watched it yesterday and I was just taken aback and appalled by how his characterization of us realtors and how we make so much money, and it shouldn't happen like that.
Yeah, I saw that too. So he seemed like you think he just sees it just as a big opportunity, like a lot of attorneys, they see this as an opportunity to make a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, 40% of 1.8 billion is a lot of money, right?
Yeah. So, what is that do you have a cat or something in the back? Is that what that noise is? I'm trying to figure out. Like,
it is my mini bulldog.
Oh, it's a mini bulldog. All right, cool. I hear something like, what?
I know.
All right, cool. What does your bulldog think about this whole scenario?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. How about you, Russ? Like, is there any validity to this, man, or is it just like, because here's what's going to happen. This is just going to open up the door. I mean, now you're going to see they're going to start popping out of the work everywhere now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always been, and I try to take myself out of it, but I've seen it, I see commission structures all over the map. So this whole conspiring thing just kind of took me by surprise. And I don't know if it's in one area of the country, but all over, I see buyer's agent commissions, sellers commissions, just, 2%, 3%, 1%, always negotiable. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like, is it an attack on the whole, or is it just in one area?
I think it's how NAR positioned themselves, and then brokerages kind of jumped on that bandwagon, and probably because they felt that they had to, because NAR is such a conglomerate and a huge force in the industry.
Yeah. So, and by the way, we just, there's a link up on the top. And if you click on that link, if anybody wants to join us on StreamYard, we are live on StreamYard. So you click the top link and I'll actually get you into the video, which is being recorded. And we're going to use this as a podcast. So,
Bobby Leach made a good point. It's all about the money for the law firms. I think the attorneys are going to make the most money out of this.
Yeah, I don't even know how you're going to get the money. Like they're saying we're going to get this money back to the homeowners, but how would we even, how are they going to get the money back to the homeowners?
It's like that postcard you get in the mail for $100, you know?
Exactly. You're going to get $2.99.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. And so, but let me read this to you though. This is the focus of the lawsuit is a NAR rule that requires that home sellers offer to pay the commission for the agent representing the homeowner when they advertise their property on the multiple listing service, where a majority of U.S. homes are listed for sale. This is in addition to having to cover the commission for their listing agent. So this is what I was talking about yesterday, and somebody told me I was wrong, but I'm not wrong. But basically what they're saying is that we are making them pay both sides of the transaction. And the way I see it is like, if you looked at it, if you hired an attorney to represent yourself, right? Like if you needed an attorney, Russell, and then you were a plaintiff, and then you went out and there was a defendant, and you had to pay for the defendant's attorney as well. You wouldn't want to do that, right?
No.
So in a lot of ways, when a buyer's agent shows up to the property, they represent the other party. So, and it's funny because in 2009, I stopped working with buyers, and I will tell the sellers, that the buyers, especially for sale by owners, I'd say you're paying a real estate agent to negotiate against you. Did you know that? And like, I'm not sure what you're, but you are, you're going to pay somebody money to come negotiate against you. But anyway, that's just my thought process on it. But
but that's the plaintiff's attorney. That's what he had mentioned as well. That, I mean, in theory, that is a great argument. I can absolutely see that. But how I think of it is, look at when you're sitting down with the seller, to let them know that as part of marketing, you could, to get the most exposure and the more offers, why not solicit to a group of people who are licensed to do this, who can bring you a ready, willing, and able buyer, right? So in order to do that, it's just like advertising. We're advertising out to this group of people, and then in hopes that they're going to bring you a ready, willing, and able buyer, and then pay for that as a success fee.
Well, there's that too. And then there's the leverage piece. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, if you have 20, 30, 50 listings, how in the hell are we going to show all these things? At any given time, you could never leave. I don't care if you have a team of 5, 8, it's still going to be impossible. I mean, there's some, and that's what I meant earlier by efficiency. Something's going to have to shake out. Anybody that's going to do volume, that leverage of having the agents be able to show it on a Sunday if you're at church or if you're at the Bahamas, and especially if you cover multiple counties, that's going to be crazy too. So
I just see maybe the fee will end up going up higher, right? One of the plaintiffs, that a plaintiff's attorney had mentioned, like he had mentioned that commissions start at 6% and they go higher. Like, I think that was just a false misrepresentation of the facts, especially of the real world, what's going on.
I agree.
Well, you sent me that video, and I appreciate that. But that Sherry is one of the first scripts I learned 18 years ago, when the seller says, and I'm just having fun with this, but that's been going through our industry, right? Like when the seller says, "Well, can you negotiate the commission?" Yeah, absolutely, I can negotiate up. And it's funny that's exactly what that attorney said. But you know how many times I've heard that? So there's definitely some truth to that, right? Like people are saying that. Now, is that grounds for this whole lawsuit? I personally don't
Yeah,
think
but I
so.
don't think that's
Uh,
systemic across the
yeah,
country or
no,
in
you're
one
right.
particular area.
Well, that's why I said earlier. I think it's the challenges. The 20% are affecting everybody right now. And the other thing it says the rule also prohibits a buyer's agent from making a home purchase contingent on the reduction of their commission. Now that's not true, is it? The what they're saying is that the buyer's agent is not allowed to reduce their commission. Now I think that's an individual thing, isn't it?
Yes, but I believe most agents won't unless it benefits the buyer, right? Like, hey, I'll give you X amount of my commission towards your closing cost.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Well,
and so many times buyers ask for it too. So I mean, it's buyers, we'll do the deal if your rebate is one back. That happens a lot with new homes too.
Or to make the deal work,
Right.
both listing and buyer's agent have come together, and I have done this in my practice, is, let's split the difference. If both buyer and seller can't come to terms because of X amount of dollars, let's you and I split the difference.
I had to do that a lot in 2008, 2009. I mean, there was just some negative or almost no equity positions. And, we had to, at the last minute before the closing table, take 1% off on both sides just to make a deal work.
Right? But imagine that going away and there's no leverage anymore for both buyer and seller. And then they'll probably end up not having that deal happen
I,
because of that.
I don't know if that'll. I don't think that'll go. I think it just helps us all to negotiate better. I think we all need to be better negotiators, and I think a lot of us need to be better at explaining to the clients exactly how this works, right? Like how the commission works, because I think when you just show up and you say, hey, we charge whatever percent, 5%, 6%, whatever it is, and that's it. I think that is confusing to some people. I also want to hear from we got some people in Clubhouse. I don't know if Ann is available, if she wants to chime in on this conversation, or also Louise is with us as well. Anna, what are your thoughts on this whole thing? Is this just hogwash, or is this something we all need to be paying attention to?
I gotta be honest, I can't get enough of this conversation. I actually love it. And I think it's a great time to be a realtor. For those that, operate a certain way, have their processes down solid, their language down solid. There isn't, I literally just got off the phone with a prospect, and of course, we get to the point of what do you charge? And I don't know if you recall, David, because we've had this conversation in role playing, situations. My answer or my question to that answer has always been the same. What would you like to pay? And I always find it interesting, the different answers that I get from the average homeowner. But I will say, more often than not, they're like, well, I don't know. I think like the going rate is about 6%. Well, at that point, there's not really much more conversation to have. Just nod politely and move on. Whenever it's some other answer or much less than or what have you, then it's to your point. Well, how much do you want to pay the buyer agent? Right? I don't make it a requirement, even though our listing contracts, at least here in the state of Pennsylvania, the way it's written, it is assumed requirement. It's not an option. Right? It pretty much says, and I'd have to pull it up to tell you verbatim what it says, but it pretty much says that our, company policy is that when there's a buyer agent involved, this portion, what you do negotiate is how much of the whole is going to the buyer agent. It doesn't say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, would you like to compensate a buyer agent as well? And here are the reasons to do it, right? Just like the MLS part where it says that whether the seller does or does not want to be publicized in the MLS. It'll tell them, what the detriment is. You're not disseminating this information amongst a bazillion agents, yada, yada, right? So I think there needs to be more education and more transparency. But because I've been pretty damn transparent for my entire career, I think it's a great thing.
That's why I'm having this conversation right now, because I feel like even, I've sold a lot of homes, over 1,100 total in my time, and I feel like I've always just told people the way it is. I've given them options. I've said we can do this. This is, and by the way, when somebody would say to me, I know your answer, Anna. My answer is we charge 3, and let's talk about how much we're going to pay the other agents. So right out of the gate, I'm explaining to them that this is all we take, right? And then if there's another agent involved, and we've been doing this for 10 years. It's not like we just started doing this a couple of years ago.
But 2 really quick points. I'm a little bummed that all the lawsuits surrounding NAR have to do with, compensating buyer agent and not to do with dual agency. Don't even get me started on that one, right? Like, of all the things that the industry could be sued for, I just think that would have definitely been number 1 on the list. But secondly, when and if these homeowners actually receive any of these monies, are the buyers then going to sue the homeowners, the sellers, for the monies that they received? Because if the buyer did indeed pay their own agent, well, they would have had a tax break on that money spent. So why should the seller get to keep that, piece of, pennies on the dollar? I know, but I'm just talking on principle here. Home buyers should be able to create a class action lawsuit against the sellers on that.
Who knows what's going to happen? I bet everybody's going to be creating class action lawsuits after this. It's going to get freaking crazy out there. But I'll tell you what I'm telling our community is, let's focus. We got to focus, and we got to keep moving forward, and we got to cross our T's, dot our I's, and hey, you may decide going forward, I'm not going to offer any compensation to buyers agents. That's up to you. Right. Like I would like, we've always split it, but I was never, I've always offered compensation to buyers agents because that's the way I was taught to do it. Right. And I always saw a benefit in, buyers, not always, because sometimes I wouldn't say I saw a benefit in buyers agents, but most times we'd at least offer compensation. Right. So let's
say we didn't, though, David. Let's just say hypothetical here, because the argument is, well, if you don't compensate agents, your house isn't going to get shown. Yeah, okay, I get that. However, let's just say hypothetically, right? Take that property and not compensate the buyer agent and reduce the asking price by about, I don't know, 3%. And buyers, because anyone could put their property in the MLS. You could use a flat fee service, right? You could do whatever the hell you want. You don't have to offer compensation. But if you market the property correctly, if you have an aggressive price, are you seriously telling me consumers aren't going to want to see that property?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I want to toss. I got a couple people here with me on the Zoom, so these guys are just sitting here. So I want to toss that over to you guys. What are your thoughts on what Anna just said about not offering a compensation to buyers agents?
Well, I think you're going to start seeing that, I believe, January for New York and I believe New Jersey, right? That it's not even going to be posted in the MLS. So what are the buyer's agents going to do? Call up the listing agent and be like, I need to start somewhere. So would you compensate me if I bring you a ready, willing, and able buyer X amount? Like, how is that conversation going to look like?
Well, I'll tell you here in Texas, there is a brokerage called Mossy Oak, and they've done this for years now. They don't pay any buyer's agent commission. Now they deal in high-end properties, mainly ranches, farm and ranches. Mm-hmm. But forever as I known them, which 5, maybe 8 years, they've never done and I may be wrong on that, but they've never done a buyer's agent commission. So you have to negotiate with your buyer your worth.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're going to see some kind of hybrid of that.
It is strictly prohibited. That's the language. It is strictly prohibited.
Who's that?
It's Terry's not he's not a realtor, but he seems to be very. Can you turn up your volume, Terry? You're able to increase your volume? He seems to know a lot about the case, so I'm glad he's here. What were you saying?
I said in New York, a seller's agent is strictly prohibited from paying a buyer's agent.
Ah,
Prohibited. That is the word that is used in the ruling. Prohibited.
As of what? As of 2 days
There's no
ago, or
negotiation. It is, yes.
yeah, I mean, I don't sell in New York, so I don't know the answer to that. But
so what does the appeal do? Does that pause that or?
I don't think it affects New York. I think this is a Missouri.
Okay.
it is.
But the
Okay.
gentleman just mentioned New York. Is that happening? Maybe it's a New York thing that's happening in January.
That's Rebney. That's Rebney's rule. And Terry, that's New York City, not New York State.
It's New York already making changes and making and complying with things before this case even came out. But as a week ago in New York, and it might be New York City, but all I've heard is New York, New York, New York. It is strictly prohibited from a seller agent to pay a buyer's agent.
But just to be clear, that regulation came from Rebney. They're not NAR.
Right.
That's not the NAR Association. Those are the Rebney Association in New York City that starting January 1, listing brokers can no longer pay buyer agents. Instead, so it's not to say that the seller isn't going to pay the buyer agent. Instead, they'll be required for the sellers to pay commissions directly to the buyer agent. Now, I don't know how funky that's going to get, and like, is an actual buyer agent going to be speaking directly with the seller to negotiate that compensation? They don't have specifics. I mean, I haven't read anything about that. All I can say is that this is a revenue rule.
Interesting.
And
Hey,
Redney
look,
is what?
But the seller doesn't want to pay the buyer's agent. That's the whole problem.
well, I mean, you can't speak for every seller. I think not. I don't. There's certain sellers that just want to sell their house and they're not concerned. So, but I want to hear from Louise. Louise, are you available, man? I would love to hear your thoughts on this whole thing. Is this legit? Is this worth us talking about? Is it going to go away? What are your thoughts?
Yo, Dave. I think it's absolutely a conversation that's worth having, specifically because the way in which we do business as a whole had to change, right? If there were sellers agents forcing sellers to pay and not explaining exactly the way it's supposed to be negotiated correctly, that's a problem, right? My pushback in all of this is when they say that the MLS or having access to the MLS is collusion. I think that's nonsense, specifically because we have paid for the MLS to be a thing. It's a tool, right? The way appraisers have their back-end systems, the way bankers have their back-end systems of the way in which they do credit checks and LexisNexis checks and all these things to make sure that they can service a client in the best manner. I think it just comes down to us having access to specific tools because we are professionals within the business. I don't think that everybody should have access to the MLS because we have paid for that system to be developed and to be at the point that it is now. I think that's my pushback towards them calling having access to the MLS collusion, especially if there's agencies out there that have given sellers the ability to place their property on the MLS and not do anything else, right? Like there are flat fee services that don't show the properties, that don't negotiate on the seller's behalf, that don't educate the sellers. So I think it just comes down to the consumer being better educated and educating themselves to that effect. So I think that's what I gotta say.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that in a minute because I want to know, like, and I think most of us are on the same page here with like what how do we go forward. I want to touch on something though that Anna said. Well, before I do that, I'm curious to hear what Terry, what do you? I'd love to kind of hear Terry's thoughts on this or not. I don't know what's his name was just up here, but he's gone. What are your thoughts on this, Terry? Is this a legitimate thing that should be happening right now? Well, Terry's not speaking, so I want to touch on what Anna alluded to earlier with the dual agency thing, and I think I'm not sure if it's part of it yet, Anna, because I need to dig deeper. But I think when one of the things that kind of occurred to me is like our office does designated agency. So what that means is like I'm the listing agent. And you know how some agents say, well, I don't feel comfortable working directly with the buyer. Like if I'm the listing agent, so someone calls me and then I say, well, I don't feel comfortable working with the buyer, so I'm going to give them to another agent in my office. Now, to me, that is an issue, right? Like I would always just say, listen, I represent the seller. Let's what do you want to offer? Let's see what we can do. I'm fair, I'm honest. Let's see what, you know what I mean? But I think that's an issue. Like, I think that, I don't know if that's even part of it. I've been digging deeper, but they're saying that we're inflating commissions. We're making, the sellers pay both sides. Is that part of it too? Does anybody know?
Well, it's only part of it in the sense, in my opinion, what do I know? But it's only part of it in the sense that it's going to increase situations where dual agency will happen. And for an agent like myself who just chooses not to do dual agency, it's still not going to change what I do, and I'm still not going to perform dual agency because at the end of the day, once explained correctly, it's not what my sellers want. So what we do require and have historically before all these lawsuits came to be is, and when I say we, I mean after conversation with my sellers and what they now want based on what I've explained to them, is we do require that the buyer have attorney review.
So, Anna, how long have you been in the business? How many years?
10 years.
10. Okay, got it. And Louise, how long have you been in the business?
10 years.
10. Got it. Okay. I'm going on 22. We got Russell. Russell, how long you been, Russell?
23.
How long?
23.
23. And then Sherry's got us all beat with 25. So we got some long-term realtors that have gone through a lot, because everybody on here has sold a lot of houses, right? We're not talking to the person that sells 3 houses a year, right? So I guess I'll just to keep it on a positive. I'm also open to love to know if we have any questions. If anybody has a question or they want to pose something, I was kind of hoping Jonathan showed up just to kind of throw some of his thoughts into the conversation. But like what going forward, what are we going to do? Well, before I go there, I made some notes earlier about some of the things that they're alleging. Okay. So number one is they're saying that the sellers have to pay the buyer's agent and the buyer's agents. So basically saying you have, like I said earlier, I used the example of the attorney, like you have to pay for the other side's attorney. They're also saying that sellers agents, all of us real estate agents are in collusion, working together, right? Getting together and saying, hey, we all need to get together and increase, somehow we're increasing prices. I don't even know how that works. Does anybody understand how that works? Can you guys explain how this is increasing prices? Anybody?
Maybe to compensate for the commissions.
To compensate for the commissions?
So if the
Yeah.
average commission nationally is 2%, so we're inflating 2%.
Exactly.
See, that's so
But
ridiculous.
it
Because
is.
saying that I'm gonna, add in whatever it is we're charging, 4, 5, 6, 7%. Okay, Mr. Seller, you want 500. Well, let me just go tack on this additional amount, and that's what the asking price. No, the market is going to decide what the value of that home is, and the home, whether or not there is or isn't a buyer agent commission, when an appraiser comes, they don't factor that in at all, because that is a service that has nothing to do with the value of the home. So to suggest that we just, wave a wand and like, oh yeah, okay, we'll just throw on an extra whatever percent and make the market pay that is the dumbest freaking thing I've ever heard.
Here.
So clearly they don't see any value in having a buyer's agent, right? I think that's that. If you summarize this whole thing, they just think that, without a buyer's agent involved, or do they think that the buyer's agent should just be paying for themselves? What do you guys think?
They
Is
think that the buyer's agent makes way too much money. And I don't know. Last I know is that we're in a free society, free commerce to, do things legitimately. And I think what we do is legitimate. We help and serve our communities. We help neighborhoods. So I'm really flabbergasted about this whole thing. And you go into all these Facebook groups and you have people on the other side who, are really steadfast about, buyer's agents go pound sand.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I think right now it's easy to say that because there's no inventory.
Exactly.
Right.
Wait until the tide turns.
Well, when will the tide turn? I can't even see the tide turning.
Probably when this
a long time
debacle is over in 7 years.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe. Yeah, you're right. None of us have a crystal ball, so it's impossible to know. But now,
you know something, David. But in the meantime, what we all should be doing is still status quo, business as usual, right? But with the understanding and clarity and transparency going forward. That should have every agent should be doing that now and have been in the past. But I think it's even more crucial to start doing that going forward.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you need to, we started with this, you need to disclose. I was telling my people today that I feel like we should have a separate disclosure on top of the disclosure you already have, that explaining, hey, if you are giving a compensation to a buyer's agent, which you certainly can, I want to give them options, but 100% what you're doing, right? Unless Massachusetts comes and says we can't do it either, like New York, right? But right now, I haven't seen anything like that.
But conversely, for a buyer's agent, they need to have that same conversation with the buyer,
100,
right?
yeah.
Up front. That means going back to basics, pulling out and dusting off the exclusive buyer agency agreement, reviewing it, and making sure they understand how the commission works. And if they can't get it from the listing side, then they need to have options to make sure that they can actually pay for the success fee if the buyer's agent ends up helping them with getting them into a home.
Do you think the buyer's agents are going to do that? You think they're going to approach their clients, or are they going to say, hey, I need
to have to, though.
They should already be doing that.
Yeah.
But if not, then this is probably just going to weed out the 80%.
So somebody made a comment. I think it was Thursday. Yeah, Wednesday. We did a conversation on this, and somebody came and made a comment that and I've heard agents say this. He said that buyer's agents' value proposition is, hey, it doesn't cost you anything. Like, to have me, it's free.
Right.
Like, you hire me, it costs you nothing. So in a lot of ways, if that's your value proposition now going forward, you got problems.
Yeah. Well, not when a buyer talks to me. I make sure that they understand what I bring to the table, what it's going to cost if in the event that the other side does not pay. And hey, some of them are like, I'm sorry, but I can't afford that. And they'll go find somebody else. And that's fine. That's part of it. But for the most part, because of what I bring to the table, yeah, they're more than happy to help me find the house that they want and negotiate on their behalf.
I'm going to throw, who is that? I heard someone jumping in. I want to throw a question out there though, too. So how do you guys think this is going to impact the future of the real estate agents? Anybody can jump in on this. What are your thoughts on the future now of real? I mean, this is a big change. There's no way, put it this way. The change is done. It's just a matter of if the lawsuit is what's going to happen with that lawsuit, right? So, but what are your thoughts on the real estate agent? Are we going to ways of, somebody was saying last night we're going to be going to ways of the travel agent, or getting replaced by a website? What are your thoughts on that conversation?
That could very well be.
That's it.
Oh, I thought Russell was chiming in.
Oh no, I thought somebody else was. Sorry. I think it's still. I think it's still. We're not there yet. I think we saw the human aspect, the local aspect is still in play. I think honestly, I think it's just going to make our business a little bit more efficient. All the agents are going to have to communicate better. Everything's going to be more accounted for in terms of commissions. In Texas, we already have in our listing agreements, how much goes to the other broker and sub broker. So I mean, that's already in disclosure there. But I think it's going to be discussed more now that buyers agents want to get compensated, and they're gonna have to say, I'm not for free now, in order to prove that. But back to your point, does the agent go away? I don't think so, unless AI and Meta comes up with some kind of better solution. But I'm not seeing it just yet. But that's just me.
David, I wouldn't say that we're going to go away because of AI and what's available for a buyer consumer today. But I do think that they'll go away for this change in how they need to be. Meaning, like, for an agent who couldn't sustain in the market of multiple offers, and they primarily represent buyers, but they just didn't have the knowledge and expertise and the ability to negotiate against tough offers, right? So they kind of went away. Well, here you're going to see agents who can't adapt and execute on having these intelligent conversations or advising properly if they can't figure out themselves. If and you may have the responsibility, David, on hosting role-playing rooms or trainings specifically for this. And it's, for me, it's almost like a birthday wish, because I've often said we have all this damn training in the real estate industry on how to get a lead. You want to learn about TikTok and what the hell and whatever. Oh my God, there are YouTubes beyond YouTubes on how to create the perfect reel and whatever. But God help us if there's a real space and real education for realtors to understand how to advise properly, how to educate their client. That's where the training needs to go towards, and that's where the agents need to be strong, or they will be out.
But Anna, I'm getting really good at making door hangers and gift bags to get the random people I don't know. And
That sounds like Armando.
It is Armando.
And I don't mean to belittle that part. Like, I'm not saying.
Did somebody move Armando? That's not nice. Who did that?
I just brought him back up. I'm not saying
Sorry,
that's not important, but really though, like, is really that, like, David Bold and all those like trainings, right?
Yeah. I was a Bold instructor.
Well, exactly.
I mean, I know the scripts we gave people.
Get the appointment, get the lead, right. That's all that it close. But then what? Like, now you have them. Now what do you do? Oh, well, yeah, you'll just figure it out.
We'll TikTok you.
TikTok.
Exactly.
Hey, so Bobby just popped in here and I think Terry was trying to jump in too, but let me go to Bobby first and to Terry. What's up, Bobby? You just joined us on this stream. Why did you join us on the stream? I have no idea why you're here whatsoever.
Oh, sorry. Should I leave?
No. I let you in, so I want to.
No. I saw the link on your website, so I didn't know what the protocol was. I didn't even know it was on Clubhouse actually. So yeah, pretty cool. First time on the stage here.
Are you a realtor? Are you a real estate agent?
Yeah, this is year 8 for me. I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So
okay.
Yeah, just went in my 8th year. I just think this is really interesting times. I think real estate's going to be way different, especially with NAR challenging the case. Let's just say NAR does win. I think it's still going to be very different going forward. Even if they do win the case. I mean, you think about listing agents and hey, hey, I don't work weekends. I sit at home and I write offers and counter offers and stuff like that. And you guys go out and be buyers agents, and I'll just sit back and I'll be with my family on the weekends. But sure, I'll have to answer the phone a little bit and maybe write a contract or a counter offer, whatever. But you know, what happens now to the listing agent? They're going to be doing all the showings, right? I mean, it's going to be way different, I think. And I just look at that, and it's just, and then I look at, there's so much going on right now. I look at Zillow, right? Zillow just, what is Zillow doing right now behind closed doors, right? Is anyone?
Follow-up boss too.
Yeah,
Follow up.
yeah. So why did they just buy Follow Up Boss? Yeah.
Data.
So no, I don't think it's that. I'm curious. Like, I mean, they're probably looking at this opportunity right now.
Oh,
If the buyer agent goes away, now they can maybe they become a flat fee buyer agent rep, you know, with a big call center, and they just hire people to.
backing all of this.
Oh, are they?
Zillow is kind of, yeah.
Oh, there
Zillow
you
is
go.
kind of this whole thing exists because Zillow, when they were coming out with the 1% and the 2% sales commissions, they were getting smashed by NAR. And so Zillow is sort of kind of behind all of this. And that is why they just bought
who's talking right now? Is that Greg or Terry? Because
this is Terry.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I mean,
Well,
Zillow is about to
I-
make a lot of moves.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of people are making a lot of moves, Terry. I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard anything like to prove or I haven't seen any evidence that Zillow's behind this. So what's your thought process? How can you say that with confidence?
They're not named in it. Show me where they're named in it in
But they're
one
not-
single case.
They're not a brokerage though, right? Then that's probably how they stayed out of it, right? Because they're not a brokerage, are they?
They are.
I thought they
I
are.
don't
Yeah.
think they were during that time, and I don't think they were in Missouri during that time.
Zillow does everything.
Yeah.
They haven't been a
does
brokerage
everything.
long enough to do harm, possibly. And while they are a brokerage, they're not a brokerage in the sense of the traditional sense. But I mean, their stock has gone down.
That's because every time they made an attempt at it, they got smashed by NAR. Because they could not
do you
compete
think they
with
really
NAR.
wanted to be? Yeah,
They
but do you think they wanted to be brokers, agents, active? No, they just want.
Absolutely. They want
I
the
don't know.
MLS to be open, public information. That way, I mean, just look at what Zillow is doing.
What was that?
If you go on to the internet and you put an address into the internet, you're getting connected to Zillow. Zillow's connecting one of their agents to you. Whether you got agents or not, they're still connecting their agent to you. Zillow is in this to take over the game.
Well, let me give you some. So Zillow makes money by selling, and this is a big problem. I brought this up yesterday. If like this is NAR should like I trust me, I'm not a big fan of Zillow by any means, but I mean Zillow essentially is selling. They take our inventory, and NAR let them do this, by the way. They take our inventory and then sell the leads back to us, right? But how does Zillow? I mean, this hurts Zillow too.
100%.
If there's no buyer agent compensation, in which the primary client that comes from Zillow is a buyer, I don't see how it helps Zillow.
Zillow's going to start selling you all your leads, and then they're going to start taking commissions on all those sales.
They're not selling me any leads.
I mean,
That makes no sense, quite
Yeah,
honestly.
it doesn't.
Because Zillow has historically sold us leads, buyer leads more so than seller. Yet now, with buyer agents not being compensated by the seller directly,
Yeah, I think it hurts Zillow.
Why on earth would I want your buyer leads from Zillow? Like, Zillow's taking a huge plunge. Like, it just, look at their stock today and the loss that they had over this, because it's very telling. They're going to have a huge challenge in, the fact that agents have been dropping like flies on their monthly memberships and thousands of dollars for getting leads that they no longer want.
Well, Jonathan can explain this way better than I can, but I promise you.
Let's get Jonathan in here, because Jonathan doesn't have a real estate license.
I'm buying Zillow stock.
You should.
I promise I'm buying Zillow stock.
You probably should. You probably should, man. I may buy some myself, to be honest with you. I don't question it. I mean, those guys are like the 800-pound gorilla, right? But I'm just saying. So listen, I for 10 years have been talking about, like, you can go back and find some old YouTube videos of me comparing the real estate industry to the travel industry. Okay, so this isn't a new conversation to me. But I want you to realize this. If you look at the travel industry, if you go back 20 years, you had to go sit down with a travel agent to book a trip, right? There was no Expedia, there was no nothing. But you know what? Now most people do use like an online portal, but the people that want the best service and they want the really nice vacations, what do? Is they go find a travel agent. So there's still travel agents out there, my friends. They're just like the cream of the crop. And I truly believe that's what's going to happen in our industry. So instead of being 1.5 million real estate agents, maybe there's 400,000 high level real estate agents. I don't know. That's just my thought process. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I see in the next.
Well, how are we going to afford to pay the CEO of NAR $2.5 million a year if we only have,
I don't know, but like what is NAR doing for yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna say anything negative about NAR, but
Well, speaking of that, now correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't the plane Remax bailed out? They settled.
They were smart.
And I believe I read that they have to disassociate themselves with NAR. So what does that mean?
No, they had the opportunity. They didn't force their agent to be a member of NAR. They had the option.
So a brokerage can now have a mix of
correct
realtors and non-realtors.
NAR agents, NAR associated agents.
So non-NAR.
The brokerage, those Remaxes are franchises. So the franchisee has given them the ability to decide if that brokerage, that franchise wants to stay in or not. The agents under that brokerage abide by what that brokerage is doing.
I see. So you can't have one brokerage and then you have a mix of non-realtors and then realtors.
No, but if they choose not to be a member, you as an independent agent can still be a member, even though your brokerage isn't. But it's mainly if your broker decides to be a member of the association, you as an agent within that brokerage have to be one as well.
All right, I want to, as we're getting ready to wrap up here, I want to toss a question out there with regards to the real estate market. How do you guys think this affects the real estate market itself? Let's get out of the lawsuit conversation. Does this even affect the market, or like what do you guys thought? Anybody?
I don't think so. I don't see it right now. I don't foresee a change until it's more pronounced in the public view. Right now, it's been on a few, cable channels, but unless it gets wind every day, we keep hearing it. I think it's status quo right now. That's my personal opinion.
But what's the difference? Even if because here's what I think. I think sellers, there's going to be opportunists out there, right? Like those sellers that sold houses, like, well, hold on, I paid $20,000 to a buyer's agent. I want my money back, right? So there's going to be that. But how does that affect the market, though?
How does what affect
the
seller?
Yeah, because you said right now, like the news isn't really out yet, and not a lot of people. So what? Even when people find out about this, does it really affect the market? I guess is my question.
I don't know. People are always going to buy and they're always going to sell. Someone has to sell and someone's going to want to buy. And how they get to that point is, I honestly feel that they're going to want representation. Either way, I think we just got to figure out the compensation part. But I still feel real estate is a personal decision, meaning they're going to want someone to help them. Now, who knows? It might end up being they don't want any representation, meaning a buyer, and they're going to go strictly to the listing agent. And the listing agent has to make that decision. They don't want to do any dual agency, then they're going to have to tell that buyer, either you find another agent, get compensation on your own, meaning you have to pay them, or come to the table unrepresented. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous waters, I feel, if that happens. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Louise, I saw you on mic. What were you going to say?
No, I said this isn't going to change the market, and it's definitely not going to affect prices. Prices only have one trajectory right now.
And that trajectory is up.
Yeah, as long as we're in this inventory problem, which they're forecasting is going to be more than 5 years because we can't currently build our way out of this crisis. Brother, for the moment interest rates do come down, because they're saying that that's going to happen too, prices are going to go up, man, because more people are going to enter the market. But that's just what I see. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I don't think it's going anywhere. Anybody else? Anybody else have any other thoughts on that?
I think until it becomes status quo or standardized across all the states, it's just going to be an opportunity for agents to be able to explain it, show value. And then it also could be another tool in your belt. I mean, if somebody really didn't want to pay a buyer's agent, so be it. I mean, figure it out and figure out how to work that process out in your listing appointment.
I agree. I think more discount brokers might be popping up, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, I'll tell you what,
for
someone that worked with FSBOs their whole career, like me, this is like a no-brainer, right? When the FSBO's like, I only want to pay 3%. All right, great, sign here, right? I mean, it's a friggin' no-brainer. But I want to toss it to Maria. I saw her on mic, and then I have a final question for everybody that wants to answer it. And really, the answer, I want you guys to think about the question right now. And your answer is like, what do you want to say to all the real estate agents right now listening to this? Like, everybody here is a high producer, right? A top producer. Like, what do you say to the real estate agents listening? Like, what's your advice to them going forward with everything going on? All right, so let me toss it to you, Maria, first, and then I'm going to open that question up to everybody.
Okay. Hi, Ray. So as far as the market changing right now, I mean, I've been having conversations for a few days now, and I even asked an agent who was part of their company was part of the suit, and she knew nothing about it. Her company's not talking about it.
Crazy.
I was shocked.
Whoa.
I was shocked. I even mentioned a book, and she was like, "Who's that?" And that scared me. I actually said, "You're worrying me right now." So I don't know enough people. I don't know that there are enough people that know exactly what's going on. I mean, we obviously feel like everybody knows because we've been talking about it. And even in a meeting I went to this morning, I brought it up I took my elevator speech time to discuss it. And there was a significant amount of people in the room, and a handful knew about it. So I'm not sure, if people really are taking interest in it. And as far as the market changing right now, listen, people are moving. There's not enough homes out there on the market. The rates are what they are. One of my investors just locked at 8.6 this week. And so, he's still buying and he's going to be selling it again. So I don't see the market changing anytime soon. And then to answer your question, how should realtors handle this? And I think it's just education. And if this person didn't know what was going on, she's obviously not reading her realtor papers. She's obviously not checking her emails sent out by our board, sent out by NAR. So we really need to get into the mode of getting our agents, coworkers, whatever. And in my case, my agents know all about it. I called an emergency Zoom meeting immediately, and just education is the way to go. And so I was a teacher in my first part of my life, where I was a physical teacher in a classroom. I will continue to be. And so I think education is always the best way to go. Be in the KNOW, and then that's your advantages: understanding, know your paperwork, know your your career, your field. We're not practicing real estate. We are realtors. We are realtors and should be proud of all the wonderful things we do for people, whether we're helping them stay in their home because that's the right thing for them to do, or we're helping them move into a home that they can have great birthday parties with, or whatever parties they want to have in their home. And to own a piece of the earth is something I feel privileged to be able to do for someone. So I'm going to yield my mic because I know I spoke too much, but
No,
there
it's
you
good.
go. Too long, I mean. All right.
Just enough, and you know this, I'm sure, but for people listening, you're only a realtor because realtor is trademarked as part of the Realtor Association, right? So if you're not part of the National Association of Realtors, then technically you're not a realtor. I'm sure everybody on this call knows that, right?
No, I'm just a licensed real estate salesperson, broker.
No, well, so
I'm not a realtor.
Got it. But okay, so that just to create that clarity for people listening, so they, to be a realtor, you are a member of the association. So, all right, let me toss that question to everybody. Who I'll go to you first, Sherry B. What do you say to the realtors? What's your advice going forward to real estate agents?
My advice
question, but we'll go with it.
My advice to agents is exactly is education. You have to know your stuff. You have to understand what's going on in the marketplace. You have to read your agreements. You have to know your scripts in a way in which it comes out naturally. You got to get educated. That's all about it. It's like if you treat this like a part-time job, you're going to get part-time results.
Love it. Russell Martinez.
Yeah, man. I think it's quite simple. Just get into the listings and evolve. I mean, there's so much good content out there from what you do to even like Brian Buffini, all these things that you can listen to that
Hey, come on, man. Why you got to throw Brian Buffini's name?
I knew you'd like that. I just did that for you.
No, we'll edit that out. No, I'm kidding. It's
but there really is. There's a lot of things you can stay on top with current affairs. But I think now's the time to be thinking about where is the listing model going to go? Are teams going to be like mini little Redfins, or I don't know. But I think now's the time to start paying attention and looking at everything that's going on and developing. I think we're going to have to, again, stay on top of the listings, grow our listings, but there's going to be some kind of iteration of morphing of the way this all works. And so I think being open to that and paying attention is the key.
It's interesting too, because when I think about what Maria shared for her advice, and she talked about how a lot of people don't even know about this yet. I mean, here we are sitting in here on an app, and there's what, 20 people in here? Maybe there was 27. I think we're down to 20 people. And there's other rooms we're talking about, like nothing, the news and stuff. And there's hundreds of people sitting in there. So like what, I don't know, call me crazy, but I think this is, I think people need to take this serious and take your career serious and pay attention to what's happening. Like everybody here's talking about, like, seriously, like it's time to get serious. But anyway, that's just me. Anna, I'm gonna toss it over to you.
Sorry, I was cooking. I don't think there's going to be any change in the market as far as home prices or such. I think there's going to be a huge change in brokerages, in models, in team structure, because like anything else, think about it. If the wallet's going to get tight on the average agent, they're likely to begin looking at their cost to perform. I can tell you, however many people you have in this room, less than 10% of them know what their actual cost to perform is. If they get a check, if the commission's 10 grand and they only make 6, they couldn't tell you where the other 4 went. But they're going to know. They're going to start looking soon. So I think the major change that we're going to see happening is, forced education.
Yeah, efficiencies are going to evolve.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else want? Bobby, Armando, you want to add anything to this as we're getting ready to close?
Yeah, so I just I don't agree with.
And if you don't understand your value
I don't have that
proposition,
idea.
then I think you're going to be out of business. That's you really have to be really clear on what it is you bring to the table and why a client would want to work with you.
Amen. Yeah. That's so, yeah. I mean, it's simple. Like what you said is so simple, but it's in the end of the day, it comes down to understanding your value proposition and being able to articulate that to people. And I think that's also half the challenge that created this is just agents not really explaining to clients how this really works or being able to articulate their value. Or the buyer's agent says, it's absolutely free. Just use me. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything. Right. And so I think we got to get better at that. I'm with you on that. Armando, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's just when people say, oh, I've seen and heard buyers agents on their socials, like, of course my service is free, and it's just difficult to, when agents are saying that, like, and it's not. Yeah, so
It's not everybody, Armando, but yes.
I didn't say everyone. I said agents. So
No, I know. I'm the one who said it. That's why I said that. I just wanted to correct myself.
right. Well, I mean, when I see that on other agents, thing, it's like, well, yeah, like present your value and more than just toting, buyers around and like Anna says, like what is it, Uber with an e-key? We we do more than that. So yeah, and I'm always showing my value to sellers when I present myself always. And so and yeah, not every agent is the same. We're all different. We all work differently. So it's just going to be interesting to see what pans out in the next 6 months to a year to see what comes out of it. So
Yeah.
There you go. Well, listen, I thank you guys. My advice to you is everything you just heard. Start disclosing, having real conversations with your clients, providing value, and just be clear. Make sure they understand. Like I said, we're literally thinking of adding an additional level of disclosure, so people sign it and say, "I know exactly 100% what I'm doing." And yeah, and I think that's it. And for me, and I know we sent out an email today to all of 2,500 people, to all of my clients, just saying, hey, here's what's going, because I want to be in front of this. I want to be the one I don't want them to hear about it from someone else and then say, oh, geez, I bought a house from David a couple years ago. I'm wondering if I got taken. No, I want them to hear about it from me. That's the way I'm approaching it. So I don't. Some of you don't agree with me. That's fine. But for me, I want to be in front of it. So I sent out an email to everybody today, and some of you on this call probably got the email, as a matter of fact. And it just basically it's information. Here's what's going on. If you have questions, I want you to reach out to me. I don't have all the answers, but as I get answers, I will give you the answers, and I want to be your resource, and that's it.
Anyone respond?
No, not yet. Not yet. So, yeah, we're going to sue you. No, I'm just kidding. No responses. So, and I think Sherry, to that point though, I think a lot of us are not, like, here's what happened yesterday when I brought this up. People don't want to send that out because they're scared that their client may respond. See, I don't agree. I think you got to get in front of it personally. Like if your client's going to respond or they're not, regardless. But at least if it comes from you, I don't know. To me, it makes me a professional. So I want to be a professional. All right, y'all. Well, listen, thank you guys. It was a great conversation. Appreciate every single one of you. We're going to be putting this out, and it's going to go out quick. So if you want to hear what you sound like on podcasts, this will be out next week on Path to Mastery podcast. And just thank you guys all. And for anybody that wants training, we're putting a 3-month program together that's going to set you up to go into the new year, to train you on this, on what to say, how to say it, everything, disclosures, everything we're going to be focused on, and also where to go out there and take listings now. Reach out to me and I'll get you some details on that. Thank you for your time today. And Sherry, appreciate you. You killed it. Russell, thank you. Anna, thank you as well. Armando, Bobby, Maria, and everybody else that contributed. We appreciate every single one of you guys today. Thank you.
Thank you.